we all know that this comes from the NAC. Okay, and NAC wants us
Right.
to do something upon experiential learning or participative learning, but how they define it as a student-centric method. Okay, that what the student-centric method your institution is using for teaching learning or so, right? So I thought of that. Why not to put it this way only, so that any in your institutions, in case you are going for the NAC or so, you can connect the terms or things what we are talking about. And I am 200% sure that all the institution, maybe in a smaller way or in a bigger way, we all are doing this. Okay, but somewhere I have also observed with my experiences, we are unable to bring them before the NAC or bring them before any accreditation agency, because we ourselves do not acknowledge that, oh, this what we have done, a very small thing, right? It is a part of a participative learning, or it's a part of an experiential learning or so. So this particular presentation is not to develop you as a case study teacher or so. This is to talk about that what are the methods we can use as a experiential learning or participative learning, and the what we can bring out change, what pre-preparation we need to do related to that, so that we can talk about the experiential learning or the participative learning. So now we are in the era where we talk about student centric methods, right? I come from, or maybe many of you come from, that kind of a time where student centric was not at all the method of teaching at all. It was only and only one, that is a teacher centric. Teacher was the owner of the class, teacher was owner of everything what we were doing around. So that kind of a method what we did, I don't say that it has a negative, positive. I'll really not fall into that, because each has its own positives and negatives, right? So we actually, when we see about those types where only the teacher decides, teacher delivers, teacher is accountable for doing everything. We make the teacher responsible for the destiny of the students. Now the time has changed. Student has become one of the stakeholder in the teaching. Okay, student has become one of the stakeholder in teaching. Fine. So we are into that time now. When student becomes the stakeholder, they're into the entire teaching process. It's not the beneficiary. Student is no more beneficiary. If you look at the role of students, typically one different session on that, what is the role of students nowadays in teaching. So students, they decide that what we are doing, how we will do. As in my previous class also I mentioned that students are the ones who guide us that how to take up the next case studies and many other things. Okay, so a student has become a main important part or the core of what we are teaching. I'm keeping my this device near me so that I can uh, I'm sure my screen is properly visible to all of you. You can just raise your thumb, Vijaya sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah, madam. But you are not sharing the screen now. It is visible.
Okay, I got the response. I got the response, right.
Okay.
Fine. So now student has, as they have become one of the stakeholders into the teaching, right? So we have to consider or involve them equally into the process. Fine. So here the terms which comes is the experiential learning and the participative learning, and this is important for the effective delivery. One side delivery time has gone. Now when we talk about student centric methods, right? I actually ask myself only that why do we need to talk about the experiential learning? Why do we need to talk about the something called as participative learning? Because during classes, right, students feel quite disengaged. Whatever good teacher you are, right, you cannot keep 100% class in with your intact with you. However good you may be having 99 students in class, 100 students in class, and 99 is intact, but there is always a one man out there in the class. And students attention span is also very less. These experiential learning, or when we talk about participative learning, these are very systematically and very reasonably developed techniques. And that comes from a cognitive background. Again, I come back to that psychology, that student psychology. When that has been studied, right, and it has been identified that at various age groups, what are the different level of engagements the students show there in the class, what are the time span, the attention span which we say they have there for the class, right? So then these techniques what we talk, the modern ones, came into the existence. So students has more interest in just learning. They want to experience it. They want to live the time or the class which they are into, right? So that has made very important for we to talk about experiential learning or the participative learning, apart from the NAC things and all we have. So there is a Chinese very saying, right, which says that tell me and I will forget, show me and I may remember, but involve me and I will understand. This is a Chinese proverb and very apt for the topic which we are discussing today. So we need to, now the time is gone where the teachers taught us and most of the concepts we forgotten. And at one they started showing only the computers to us, taking us to the computer lab, that this is a computer, and somewhat little bit we remember that how the computer looks like. But now the time is that the students, you need to involve them in connecting the computer. Just a very simple plain example I'm giving, and then they will always remember that did they do in the class, like that. So because of that we are talking about this topic. That makes this topic very interesting, and I really appreciate Dr. Vijaya for organizing this session on this topic. Apart from that,
Thank
there
you,
is
madam.
something called as this. I'm sure all of us recognize this in teaching fraternity. This pyramid, I don't think so. Is there anyone at here who do not know that what is this pyramid? This is about Bloom's taxonomy, right? So the Bloom's taxonomy, when we implement and bring it to the classroom, right, it says that we have to, just not remember, not understand. We have to take our students towards the higher order thinking or higher level of understanding. So when we talk about remember, it's just like the first line, you just tell me and I will remember, like that. I may forgot, but when you show me, I will remember. But when you will, involve me, then I will understand. So the first two level is just you show them, you teach them, that only this is. But this from apply to create, when we talk about, right, that talks about the experiential learning, the participative learning. Okay, and it's not the I am telling you, it's given into the Bloom's taxonomy, and lot of research papers have been written on this. So they tried to develop the link between the Bloom's taxonomy and the modern way of teaching. Okay, so we cannot say that which of these has come first, whether the teachers have developed this kind of a participative or experiential learning methods, or the Bloom's taxonomy has forced them to do so. It can be both the way or whatever the way it is, right? But certainly they both travel with each other. So one thing is this, that students are disengaged, they are distracted, and whatever the see things we there in the class. But apart from that, it is the need of the time when every institution is talking about OBE. Okay, I think all the institutions, they are working very hard from last 5 6 years, when the OBE has been made compulsory for the degree college to the any other level of the college. Even the IITs, NITs, IIMs, they are talking about OBE, and they are developing mechanisms and all for that. Okay, so we need to have, for upper three parts, we need to have something called as student centric learning. The last two, the lower one was the teacher centric learning. The upper four ones falls under the category of the student centric learning. Now let's coming back to this is just to link the theory with the what we are doing right now in our classes, right? But let's talk about that, what is experiential learning. I'm sure all of us know that what is experiential learning. Now this mic is not working, so I cannot ask openly. But yeah, no, like the term says, experiential learning is all about, you go experience, you become part of that, and then you are doing. And all these pictures which are here, they talks about the same thing. You see this, students are. This is just a funny example. that students are doing and they are learning. Here also experiential learning that happens in classroom depending upon the subject. I'm not typically talking about the management or the commerce or so right now, right? So this basically goes with the science and arts and all subjects also. So they do into the classroom something. The medical science students, the engineering students, right? They operate on the real cases. That's also an experiential learning, right? And then what we do there in the labs, or nowadays for commerce and management, we talk about simulation labs, simulation games, which we organize there in the class, maybe at the lower level, but we all are doing it, right? So that is something is the experiential learning. Fine. So experiential learning is more about engaging the students. Okay. And that can apply to all kind of age groups. We cannot say that it is applied only to the UG or PG or school children. In fact, if you look into the background of experiential learning or student centric learning, right, that basically comes from that kindergarten kind of a teaching. If you really study the history of this, you will find that this has come from what we called as Montessori style of teaching or kindergarten style of teaching, and from there it has reached or percolated to the highest level of learning, PG learning or PhD learning or whatever it is, right? So this is more participants focused technique. Participants or your students, they are more focused upon when we talk about the experiential learning. And why? Because it develops their knowledge. It let them experience, and experiences are always good. Okay, if otherwise the theme parks would not have been successful. If the experience based learning is we cannot deny this at all. I do not know that how I should exaggerate this before you, but theme parks are famous simply because the 3D 5D movies are famous simply because of we know that, right, that we experience. And when we come from that 3D movie, 4D movie, at least for few days we remember that what we saw there in the movie, right? The same way at here is that the experiential learning, fine, that plays a very important role because we remember that part. Now when we talk about this experiential learning, now this experiential learning has an implication related to students and educators. They both are equal parties at here. Okay, in a real life we cannot say that the two teachers will teach and students will learn, or the students will say something and teachers will have to follow that also. They both are equal party into this student centric learning. Fine. So here what happens is I'll take forward, I'll discuss in depth about this. But students, they are engaged. Any examples which I'll give you, you will find that the teachers are less involved and the students are more involved. But it is the accountability of the teacher which gives more importance at here, or I say the 50-50% kind of a contribution. Now from where this very important, like it's a Bloom's taxonomy, what we say, like that, this is also very important for us to understand. I do not know how many of you have seen this model anytime there in the past, but this is getting more and more popular, like your Bloom's taxonomy. Okay, when we talk about the participative learning or the experiential learning, and what it is, right, this is the Kolb cycle. This is known as Kolb cycle. Okay, it is quite theoretical in its nature, but this is something which has changed the entire teaching industry altogether when we talk about the experiential or the participative learning or so. Now what this is a micro view of the Kolb's model, and this is its extended view, nothing too different you can see at here. So this is a Kolb's model which talks about the ACRB. We always say it ACRB model. Some people say like that, right? That active experimentation, concrete experience, reflective observation, and the abstract conceptualization. This model, when was developed, right, in 1984 or so, yeah, it was developed somewhere in 1980s, 84, I think so, right? At that time, it did not pick up so well, but within no time, right, by 1990s, people started implementing this model into the education-based industry, right? So which in this particular model, this is basically a process, okay, process that how the knowledge has been created, right, how that has been transferred, okay, how it converts into the experience. You see here, active experimentation people do, they create some experiences. Based on those experiences, they reflect back, and then based on those reflections which they do, they conceptualize something and again experiment on that. So this we as a teacher should be very clear, because just like Bloom's taxonomy, we implement this as it is into our experiential and participative or a student centric method kind of a teaching, that we expose something to our students to. It means they are going for active experimentation of whatever we are teaching. We give them small projects there in the class. We ask them to go for small surveys, right? Or maybe sometimes I have seen I'm not an accounts teacher, but I've seen the teachers to go and prepare a GST document as an assignment, right, and come back to the class like that. Or maybe bring the this some tax form or so to the class and fill the tax form or so, right? Sometimes we say that to tell students to open their demat account and do something. These are all higher order, but yes sir, we do that and they experiment it, and with that they have some concrete learning. Your objective might have been to teach them the full taxation through that, but no, depending upon different students, they have picked up only one part of it, or another student might have picked another part of it, like that. Okay, and that's where the experiential learning is where came into existence also, because different students have a different way of learning. Why a teacher centric approach, I as a teacher may have hardly 2 3 principles way of teaching into the class, but when my 58 students, they involve themselves into the class, I have 58 ways of doing the teaching into the class, right? So that with the students, they develop some kind of concrete experience, and this experience is different for different students. Then here in this is basically more accepted by the students as compared to the case study. Case study is not too much accepted by the students as of now, but participative and experiential learning students really like. So when you ask them to do something, right, they gain experience, and when they reflect back, they have some understanding. The abstract conceptualization, please look into this word, that this is not a very clear cut a conceptualization they had. It's a abstract, means they have a fair idea, but they have their own questions with them, and with that they again go back and experiment that into the market, and this actually keeps on going. So this is the Kolb's model which we actively implementing. The I know the institutions which are actively training their faculties, students, and everybody to go with this Kolb's model, right? Now this is just the the higher part, or the more elaborated form of that. So when the experience active experimentation is happening, students are doing, right, when they are concrete experiences they are getting. You are teaching so many things there into the class, but they are taking few, and that too with the practical experience. It means they have a feeling of that, they are living into that moment. Then when they do the reflection, they are watching themselves doing something and creating, right, some kind of reflection upon what they have learned. And with that watching, because they are observing from keeping an observe on themselves, they are thinking about it, they are developing some kind of thought process about it. Okay, now between these two, right, they are trying to accommodate what they are becoming accommodative of. They are becoming accommodative of what the theory says. Okay, active experimentation, and experiments happens based on the principles and based on some theory also. But as I said, that whatever they feel, between that they are juggling, and that's what we also observe in our class. If you clearly think about your class, our student juggles between what we are teaching them and what they have in their mind. Okay, because they are also exposed. So especially the subjects like marketing and all, they really face more of challenge in this area, because student links everything. You teach them one thing and they will link it with something which has no link, but that student mind, right? So they are trying to accommodate, or teacher is trying to help them to accommodate this thing. But when they feel, right, and then they watch on that, then what they are feeling, they are diverging. They are diverging. And what the diverging here means, right? Here they are reflecting upon themselves, but when they are reflecting upon the concept based on the observation, learning, or so, they always have a different idea in mind, which they actually divert with. But that's the time, as per the literature, as per the basic researches which are happening into this area, right? The students, when they diverge from what we are teaching them and they have something in mind, right? That's where the real learning is happening. That's where the teacher, when the student contradicts two times to the teacher there in the class, that's where the real teaching or the learning is happening. And then finally, when they just, after diverging here and there, they have reflected. But by this time, students already know that yes, they started accumulating or assimilating what they have learned, what they have, thought of, what actually exists. And even after so many diversions, if they come back to the same concept, then actually it's going into their mind. Fine. And then again, once it is assimilated, again, this is a because cycle, we all are human beings, so that ideas converge and the new question comes into their mind. So this is how the entire the experiential learning program or the participative learning program that happens anywhere. Now, when I'll talk about the different methods of participative learning, please, you can remember this model and we will be able to connect. Maybe I'll also try that where we can, coming back to the previous slide, and can think about that how this model is working out. So even in our institute, we are very consciously taking up this particular student-centric approach. All the institutes, they are taking up because of any given reason. We'll not talk about that, right? But we are doing this thing only. We are following typically this learning style of our, for our students. Now, another challenge, how, because we have 50 students sitting in class, how to find that my student what, because I cannot keep identifying for 50 students, that too in one class. If we are teaching 3 4 class, I cannot keep identifying that this X student have this kind of learning student style, Y student have this kind of learning style, then Z again have this kind of learning style. And in the kind of a challenge we have, right, we cannot keep organizing separate classes for all kind of students. Somewhere we have to be very practical about this, that okay, whatever the learning style is, but we have to reach to one unanimous thing, that my subject will run with this, okay, or these kinds, typical kinds of learning styles I'll be using in my class. So the challenge for we teachers is that how to identify that what's the learning style our students have. So for this, already in literature, fine, there is a model given, and we need not to work about that. If you follow different research papers, certainly there are higher ends also where you can challenge the things which I'm showing you. But at our level, the kind of teaching you and me are doing, this is good enough to go with. We just need to see, and very consciously we have to identify whether my subject aligns with the visual kind of teaching or auditory kind of a teaching, means the hearing one, the read and write kind of a thing, or maybe experiencing, means where your muscles are involved also. So that, and if you see, means nowadays it's compulsory, if you are not doing, we all have should be doing it. We use all this kind of learning styles in our class. Sometimes we show videos while teaching to the students. Okay, 1 or 2 videos we show to the students so that they can relate themselves with the classes, the topics which are going on. If we are not doing, there are n number of videos there on the YouTube, right? To start with, to go with, you can take any kind of video, and students, they will be very happily listening to that. There are so many TED talks which are available. I do not know if with your subject the TED talks will go or not, but there is TED talk for every topic which is available nowadays, TEDx topics and all. And you just try to show that to the students, the hardly 5 minutes, 10 minutes you can show. You will find that students, they will automatically start listening to you. And that's what we all follow at here, that just a 5 second video, 5 minutes video, 10 minutes video we show to the students. And then if we teach into the class, students listen to us very carefully, because this is an attitude of the student, that if that has been shown right now, if madam will speak, they will try to link to the concept of it. Then auditory, certainly listening based, we all are doing from our career started. Then read and write. Okay, read and write is something, the notes and the assignments and all which we give, that also we cannot avoid in a system like us. We cannot just, as we were discussing, that we cannot simply have one viva and can let go the students, or just an open book examination will solve the purpose. Okay, so for that is important is that reading, writing and all. And the last one is where the people are involved by doing the things. Okay, so the various kinds of visits, and that also depends upon, like a yoga teacher can do this last one better than the visual and auditory. Okay, but accounts teacher cannot do the last one as compared to the first and second one. Okay, so that again, yeah, different subject has a different ratio. But yeah, when I say that, we need to identify that what kind of a learning style our students have, we certainly can go with this. If you see on the open Google, some different research papers, only these has been elaborated. Nobody challenged these four ways of learning altogether, right? So these are different four ways, and these has been extended over the period of time. I have not found any one place that somebody has totally discarded these four methods and has given something else like that. Now, these this is like, when we know that what's the learning style, right, then we have the methods. Now these are few methods which I'm showing you. There can be n number of methods apart from that. So our students, they have outbound training, we send them somewhere out, we do management games there in the class, right? And these management games are very common, available on Google. You just type your subject management game, or maybe on YouTube you will find a lot of games very well explained, which you can initiate in your class. Okay, and then, team building exercises and simulation. Some students we ask for to go and make the films, like in my subject we ask them to, okay, go and observe how the inventory is managed in an organization, like that. So this is very common, and they can use their local mobile phone also, whichever the mobile phones they are. They can prepare and can come and show into the class. You will find the change in students. Just very simple idea, that you are group make a group of only one group of five students. Whatever subject you are teaching them, just ask them to make a video of 4 to 5 minutes on that, and without editing, you can ask them to come and present there in the class. Even if they don't want to present, just ask them to show it there on the screen there in the class. Or if you have your WhatsApp group and students do not have any problem, they can share that on the WhatsApp group, and then you ask students to discuss on that video also. You will find how the students, they are typically engaged into this part. Then the drama theater is there, right? So these are few ones. I'll going to talk about more one by one upon few important and the latest ones which people are following everywhere. Now, for us, the subjects, like, because I talk more about commerce and management, so these are clear focused one, that the experiential learning examples. Okay, this I have not created. This was available, so I'm showing it to you. So these are few ones which we all follow. Some of them in depth I'll be talking about. Projects we give to our students, case based learning we are discussing from last 2 hours, and we have something called as inquiry based learning. In inquiry based learning, students has been asked to look into or do research upon some given situation. Okay, so it's like they themselves is developing the case. Problem based learning, only problem you give it to them, only one liner problem you give it to them, and they come out with some solution. Clinical experiences only for the medical sciences students also. And in our commerce management, this field trips makes a lot of the importance. Then student volunteer for different kind of fests also, that is also a type of learning. These are different types of the experiential learning. These are again few ones. I'll show a few which are really going into the national and international market. So the first comes is the pros and con grid. In a very layman's language, it is nothing, it's brainstorming. Okay, it's brainstorming. Earlier it was very famous into the foreign countries, but now every college they are trying to pull upon this part. So what the teacher do is, they just give the situation to the students, and then pros and cons, only a grid, means just like this, you divide your blackboard into pros and cons. So one side pros, one side cons. So if you can ask one each student to give one pros, one con, then also is fine. Or if you divide the class into two groups, and group talk about pros only, another one talks about great con only, and they brainstorm on that, they discuss upon that. That is pros and con grid. And in commerce and management field, it's really taking up its own pace. Maybe some of us maybe doing means are doing this. Then cross age peer tutoring, this is also very common into the institute these days, where the senior students, they are coming with a bridge courses or remedial classes for the junior ones. This is nothing, this is a cross age peer tutoring. In fact, I know this know a college where college is paying very very minimal amount, just a token money, I will not mention the money also, right, that they are do that means paying to the senior students, those who are participating into this activity, cross age peer tutoring. So they come forward, these students, they take only 5 6 weak students identified by the college only, and then tutor them. But it's their responsibility to design a timetable, the curriculum, just like the teachers we do, right, and then offer them the classes. And colleges are paying for this to the students. It's kind of an internship also in some student institutes. It's also a student internship, they are calling it. Now, another method which is taking up is the student generated test question. Okay. And this has also, all these techniques have come from the foreign market. Okay. Nothing is we developed here and we say that okay, we are developing it and we are doing it. So this is what, where the students, they have been, you like you in your class, you ask students, each student to give you one question for your midterm examination or end term examination. You won't believe, they all will look into the syllabus to come out with the best question. Or maybe the top 10 students of the class, you ask them. Or maybe sometimes I give that as a punishment to my students, those who want to focus into this, that for these 5 topics, bring me the question paper having A section, B section, C section, and a question should be, it's not that I will be giving that question to the students there in the class, but with this, students certainly opens the syllabus, they open the book, they engage themselves like teacher only, and they come up with that kind of a question. So students, they do all effort, like as this is shown, right, this is right, this is wrong, that which question should be, that which question should not be, right, whether the levels, they means that brings them a lot of decision making skills, lot of knowledge also that it develops, right. So this is again very innovative method of taking up the classes. And as I said, that it's not necessary that we give the questions to the students in the examination, but we also get an idea that okay, this area student has looked into also. Now, fish bowl is something, a kind of a bowl where there is a outer layer, there is a inner layer. Okay, inner layer people, right? What they do is, on a given topic, they perform the discussion. So, in case any institute is using these kinds of technique and you feel that it's quite repetitive for you, you can just type into the chat box and can post me. I'll certainly look into that and I'll skip that part, that right. So I looked into what question given by professor, suggestion given by Professor Lewis or so, right. So the here the fishbowl kind of a technique is where the only identified, you can keep changing the roles of the student. So one time one group can act as an inner circle and others are just the spectators outside, and the inner group, for some problem, some kind of a role playing or something, you give them and they perform on that part, and then you keep changing the groups. Sometimes, if the it's like a the usually people are doing these days, it's like a football where if the one person, right, wants to go out for break, they think that they cannot contribute towards the inner circle, that person leaves and they send the another one inside for sharing their view. But at one point of time, there are limited number of people sitting at here. So another way of doing it, that divide the class into two groups. Okay, have some people from one group, another group of people from another group. And in case the one group is not performing well, if they want the existing person to go out and somebody new to come in, that also they can do. So our purpose is not here to have a competition between two groups. Our sole purpose at here is that they know what they are discussing, and with this, lot of team building activity exercise happens. If in my four, group of my four students, if I'm one of the student and I know that because of me, my team could not score or my team is not scoring, certainly I'll say that okay, I'll go out and I'll send my classmate on that place who is good in this subject. And this is really very key engaging kind of an activity there in the class, and any subject teacher can do that. It's also not it's also not that one type of students can do and another type of students. My students might end up serving next door classes. It's not you, Akshita madam, it's all everywhere the same situation, right? But why we are there, we have to control them. And second thing is, once this becomes the a habit in the class, automatically the student come, they participate or they don't make noise. And for that you can always keep some students, like 5 students, to moderate the class. In case you have a PhD scholars, that also you can put. But okay, forget about PhD scholars, some 4 or 5 students in the class, you can ask them to maintain the discipline and all. And this all is a part of learning. This is not one subject specific, they are learning. Then this wall writing, so having some kind of a situation like the case studies, we can also do it with the wall writing. So each student, they have to identify one problem, one solution, one problem, one solution, and that they paste through this, posted there onto some kind of tree kind of a thing, where what is the root problem, how in different level it goes, like that they paste. And this is also participative or the experiential learning. This, you can show some videos like what I was talking about. We can show some videos to the students there in the class. Like least recently we did, I mean, I did that, I keep doing, but recently one which I did was that the students, I shown one video about the lean manufacturing. Then I very clearly said, students, that when I'm showing the video, it's your job to note down whatever you understand, few keywords, right? Once they have noted down the keywords which they heard from the video, now these keywords are different for different students. Okay, so for some students, something they might have by chance left, or something they feel that that's not important, they would have left it. Then giving them some situation, asking questions on that video, right? That what do you feel, that what are the characteristics of a lean manager, and write down on a chit and post it with your on post it which I have given, and come and paste on the board or so, like that. So that this kind of an activity is very engaging. Like the case study where our students, they just don't want to do it because they have to read it. Okay. This is something they immediately pick up, such kind of the experiential learning or participative learning, whatever we name them. Now, then a very beautiful part which I actually like, and why I like is, we all as a teacher plan field trip, which is nothing new, right, in this form. But actually, the students end up doing this part. Okay. So industrial visits have become more of a picnic rather than the industrial visit. They go for the some kind of industrial visit, sometimes spent into the industry, and then one photograph outside is very important with the banner which they are carrying. Okay, and after that banner, then suddenly outside whatever is the nearest picnic spot or some museums or whatever they can see, they all end up doing that. And all international visits which the institutes are doing, or the local visits they are doing, right, that usually ends up this part. I do not know about yours, in case you may be, your institution may be an exclusivity, but ours is like this. Who ended up doing this photography with their friends and all, using the industrial visit as more of their own enjoyment part. I don't want to say anything. Yeah, but see, the thing is, I don't say that the other part is wrong, because this is also needed when they are out, because their age group and all. But the essence of this is missing. The essence, what we want to come out with, this is missing from their entire involvement or so. So if very clearly has been communicated that this much time you have to, like, AICT has come out with very nice idea for their programs nowadays. I don't know how many of you know about this. That is the reflection journal. Okay, reflection journal. So when you organize AICT's program, right, or AICT expect all the participants to prepare the reflection journal. And what is this reflection journal? This reflection journal is nothing, it's simply when the sessions has organized your experience about each session, not about only the resource people. Today Dr. Vijaya said, ask their participants write a reflection journal on what Dr. Deepika is delivering, and people start writing about me. That's not needed. What is needed is what I delivered in the class, what is their learning outcome, right? That we measure through the reflection journal. We call it as reflection journal. And through that industrial visits also, right? To keep it on track, you will never be able to, means I also as a teacher will never be able to cross this part. This will certainly happen. Okay. So let's make it official and keep track upon this part. So ask students to prepare reflection journal, which we in a normal language we call that industrial report. When they go for the visit, they all come back and from the industry website they download something and print and give it to us as a teacher. That shouldn't be happening. That should not be happening, and that for that we have to put the effort. Nothing we can do it easily. We need to be very clear about plagiarism and all those things. And once we become strict, automatically students will fall into place. It looks very strict, but actually that is the way it will work. Then role plays. We already discussed about that. Role play is a very, very age old technique, right? In role plays nowadays, so case study role plays are happening. Okay. So where maybe between two, three people, whatever they're in the class, they can do that. So role play is involving students, and it's like for other group, other students, those who are sitting on the other side, they take more interest in role plays rather than we teacher going and standing over there and speaking to us. There may be some very, you know, professors, those who are very liked by the students, the lectures like Professor Manoj, he delivers, I heard, right? He keep the students intact and all like that. But I am not the one due to whom teacher actually every time will look forward and listen very nicely or so. So many teachers like me, right, they can think about all these things, role plays and all, where the students, okay, they see their classmates only performing, okay, and then they learn out of it. And then here also they can prepare the, you know, their own verdict of that, how the role play happened, and not about the role play, what is their learning out of it. If this role play is happening, who has a leadership quality, why that person feels that the X person has they have shown the leadership quality, what kind of issues has been discussed, what the role play has been done, whether the decisions given by them were apt, or do they want something more to add upon. You will find a nice environment there in the class happening with this. In games, management games, all games are available on internet actually, which I already discussed with you. Download from internet, two three videos we watch, and you will get to know that how to organize into the class. Okay, so but to have games, we also need to prepare that. And for that, to explain the students what we have, what we need to do is we need to prepare a nice PowerPoint slide, putting before them that what, you know, the what is expected out of that game which you are doing. Like in my supply chain, we do one game, that means the management game upon bullwhip effect. Okay, where just how the demand it changes with the change into the level, and we do, and it's really engaging for students. Like bottleneck assessment and all that can be done. So any kind, this is my subject, so I'm talking about that. When I'm speaking about my subject, certainly you have already have an idea that how you can do that in your class, or maybe something might have started coming to your mind right now. But for that, we need a clear cut PowerPoint presentation to explain student the methodology of that play. So what just Miss Akshita mentioned, right, the madam mentioned that which, you know, students end up doing the noise there in the class and all. That will happen, that will happen, but you can control this by telling students your expectations, that this is how I want this is the way game will run also. And then this is a very very you know, again, so after some years, Professor Vijaya has to organize session after 10 years on simulation for the faculty members, which is already there, but for our level after 10 years we can think of, or 5 6 years minimum, right?
Certainly, madam.
So you can do this. Actually, it's not 10 years or 5 years away. Internet is very much there. Maybe subject experts are there, those who know that how to do the simulations. And it's very prominently, it has taken up into the finance or accounts area, right? And into the logistics and operations and all these papers. Marketing simulations are available, okay, that you can talk about, or you can, discuss in your class, like that. So the simulation is nothing, basically it gives the that picture to the students which they will going to see after some time. And simulation, the best part is they can play around, like in the operation simulations which I do there in the class for supply chain management as a subject, right? My students, they can play with what if the truck goes from Bangalore to Delhi direct, and what if the truck goes from Bangalore via Bhopal or via Mumbai and Ahmedabad to Delhi, because nothing as such is going out of their hand. So this is kind of a video game the students they play, and they really enjoy the simulations. But we should be trained for that. And Harvard Business School, you just need to register on their website. Free simulation sessions they are organizing. Faculty members simply have to go on Harvard Business Publishing website, just register with your official email ID with them. Then you will find that whenever once in 2 months or so, they keep organizing the session. The only thing what is needed out of you is that you have to adjust your timing with their timing. Sometimes it happens 12:30 in the night or so, but there is no harm for learning the new things. I feel that, right? So the simulation is the most students enjoy is the simulation. Nothing. Case studies they hate the most. Practically, if you ask me, and whatever I'm just speaking from last half an hour or 1 hour to you, right? That is something they enjoy, and simulation at maximum they enjoy, because all students they like playing the video games, and simulations are more or less in our Indian community has been taken up synonymous with the video games only. That is either, I do not know whether it is really positive or negative, but it is like this. Fine. Then this is again problem solving through gamifications, that this gamification is different from the management games which I was talking to you, right? This gamification is all about the different students, like as you can see, each one of them have their own solutions for a problem, or maybe sequencing of the problems or solutions, or maybe if you are teaching them success stories of some kind of maybe Bill Gates or so. So they come up with different life stages of the Bill Gates, and now their job is to construct them so that they develop that how the Bill Gates from what he was not, and he has reached to this. So this will give a student fair understanding about, and you can always talk about, tell them that only the leadership qualities you will be talking about, or only X thing you will be talking about. Like I have seen this gamification happening in, again, my colleague, because the person who sits next to me is a finance faculty, who was talking about that how the SEBI deals with the situation, how SEBI has developed and all. So instead of asking students that go to the SEBI website, download its facts and year wise, year milestone, and come and present in the class, what he has done is he has given random facts from his side, a good 10-page document about SEBI to the students, which earlier students used to download and give it to him. Okay. And he said, now construct this or arrange them so that you know that if a SEBI has some kind of case coming in, Satyam, or this kind of case coming in, what are the different links they develop, right? And then they solve the case. So with this, what happens is student automatically learns what is SEBI, how it has been developed, what is its process, and all those stuff, right? And this goes among many students. So they all come with something, and they all put it together and bring it before the teacher. So this is what I mean by the gamification at here, that problem solving through gamification. So you can see this is something which usually people follow, that is problem, and define the problem and ask the problem. All this is there on the internet, means this is nothing mine, so I could be so much proud of this part. On the job training, this we all know, industrial visit, sorry, the summer internships which our students goes on, right? But this again is a, in all kind of environment, student goes and they ask their relative to give them certificate and the industrial training is over. So this also we need to keep on check. But yeah, on the job training when they are doing it. And these days, instead of just sending students outside, sometimes the institutes themselves are hiring the students to do some kind of a job internally, right? That is also an on the job training. Like students in my institute, those who like to go for HR kind of a internship, some of the good students institute do not send them outside, they keep inside them, pay them something minimal amount, of only food and travel, and they ask them to take up many tasks. Faculty application comes, then you sort the applications, then what kind of interview, calling them, this is all what they do when they go for the HR internship or so outside as well. So this is on the job training. For this admissions, we have a student, those who are, they are doing formal internship at the end of their training program, right? They have to prepare a report, submit like any other student. The institute gives them certificate because industrial training is needed, that all is needed like that. So this is on the job training, right? Some students are involved into mentoring because this depends upon subject to subject. So that also be a kind of a on the job training which has been given. So instead of sending them out, you can also give them inside, because when they go out, I'm not reluctant of sending them outside, but the point is they only go and get the certificates, they don't just fully work upon that part, right? So because of that, my preference is that okay, good students should always be kept inside. Now, this is again debriefing. For experiential learning or participative, especially for participative learning, when many people participate in a group and they perform, the last thing is the debriefing. And this debriefing is important because it tells us about the personality of people. Not everybody come forward for the debriefing. People having a very clear cut leadership qualities, right? They come for with the debriefing sessions. And so this debriefing is also a way to engage people. And they come, they summarize like that. So debriefing is a part of not experiential learning, but it's part of a participative learning if we look into that kind of container. And all are doing it, it's not that I'm presenting it before you. Now institutes are really into this part, and we as a teacher have to do this. Now, this how to put this. These are all different types of common techniques which I was talking about, and some of you may be already aware about these techniques, or they maybe better than what am I speaking to you. But how to put them into practice? First of all, again, like case studies, we have to prepare our class for the experiential learning. We cannot just do it. As I said, that tomorrow night I was late in sleeping, today morning I'll go to my class and I'll say, okay, you do this part, okay, all of you discuss on this topic. You will just have a fish bowl, because I'm a teacher, I know the topic from last 15 years, 17 years of my experience. I give them one topic and that full fish bowl is happening in my class. Then again, I am demeaning my work. So we also are responsible for ourselves. So we have to prepare the experiential learning classes in advance. What we will be doing, how we will be doing, which group will be doing, who will be the spectator. This all need to be planned well in advance. And then when the experiential learning has to come in its place, we as a teacher has to identify the learning style. Though I very clearly mentioned, we cannot identify the 250 or 300 students we are teaching individual their learning style. But depending upon the subject we are teaching, right, we should be very clear about that what kind of learning style goes with my subject and the kind of students I have. Because we all come from different means the institutional background. Some may have the students, those who just they experience and they learn. Some maybe just they listen and they learn. So this is more of a personality specific rather than your subject specific. But given a limitation of so many students in class, I also attribute the subject towards this part. That subject plays a very important role. Now, how we can encourage this? This is just to show before you honestly. If you ask me personally, experiential learning is something, right? You don't have to encourage students for this. This is something which students will come and say that, sir, let's do it this way rather than that way. Case study is something which you have to motivate, right? 10 times you organize the sessions for them, then they will realize 1% of the case studies are important. But this is, you need not to worry. Even if you make 2 3 students responsible for this kind of an activity there in the class, automatically we don't have to put our head, we only have to moderate with our experience. So they means talking about this slide is just to put it before you that because we as a teacher is responsible for the subject also, right? Not only for the experiential program or the learning. So why you want to invest experiential learning activities? Not all the experiential learning activities comes free of cost. It has something involved in it, like the field visit also, right? Sometimes you need some kinds of items in case you are doing it for the marketing some products also. Sometimes you need charts also, you need those post-it and all. It comes at little cost. So why do you want to invest into that? Your management will also question you, what is the outcome of this? Like, so we should be very clear about that when we are doing one activity, right? What I want as a learning outcome from my students, right? So this is how I put, right, these things. And it's not that I only, in fact this is well laid down into the literature. Then the resources, it plays a very important role. And then your feedback. Sir, whenever you feel that I have overtaken my time, please
No,
stop
no,
me.
no,
You can
madam.
type, sir.
Continue. Go
Now
ahead.
this is a challenge
Very,
which we cannot waste time
very,
with,
very,
right?
very,
I will
very
close wherever
interesting.
you want, otherwise I'll keep speaking.
Very interesting
You can
session.
type
Go
there on
ahead.
the message. You just give me very straightforward time, madam. Close by this time.
Okay, madam.
Otherwise, people will not stay back tomorrow for other search session. They will think that the people come and take away our dinner and all. So we have to close it today only. Okay, so